Hello, Saber Forum. Manroon here with a very long overdue video. Uh, sort of got sparked to do this because Wraith came back and I realized he hadn't seen this hilt, and though I did the build thread for it, I never actually did a video. And of course, video is going to show it off a heck of a lot better than a few still photos would. So this is my 2-cell Heiland flash conversion. Me and my dad did this. He wired up the electronics. I did the entire strip down, rebuild, stripped it down, came up with the design, and put all the cosmetic touches on it, and he just wired everything up the way I told him to, basically. But it is a vintage Heiland 2-cell camera flash gun from the 1930s. It's shorter than the normal 3 cells. The 3-cell versions of this very often get converted as Vader replicas because they're a lot cheaper than the MPPs. But to give you a little bit of a size comparison, that is an MR Vader from the first year that they did, I believe, if I remember correctly. But you can kind of tell the Vader is a significantly longer saber. The Heiland is only little over half the size. And further comparison, there's about a 10-inch Prophecy V2 with an Archon pommel on it. And if you really want to see, here's up against about a 14-inch Bellicose with a Guardian pommel. So it's a tiny little hilt. It's definitely only a one-hander, but it's worth it. It looks great. It's a great Form 2 hilt. Actually, the balance on it isn't that bad either, with an Initiate blade on it, which is what it's running right now. Just to go over the list of basic cosmetic features on here, we're running an Initiate blade, normal, mid-grade, and it is powered by a Ultra Sabers, of course, Sunrider's Destiny MLS, the smaller LED module from the early the V2 stunt line, and it looks great. It comes across a little more blue on screen than it does in person. In person, it's a little bit more kind of a bluish green, a little more towards the green side right now because it's got low batteries in it. But you can probably see one of the interesting features of this is it has a crystal chamber. And I am really happy with that because it just looks amazing having that otherworldly green glow coming out of the vents in the side of this thing. And if you get up close here, it's kind of hard to see. Let me try and get it under the light. But when we wired up the switch, we actually managed to get... Yeah, you can kind of see here when the light... There it is. Well, it was there for a second anyway. There. You can kind of tell. We managed to line the wires up purely by coincidence for the switch that's in here with the ports on the side. And that crystal chamber is actually also holding the LED module, and it's part of the original internal parts of the flash gun. We kept all the original exterior parts except for one, which was part of the attachment to hook it to a camera, and with 2 of those clamps on there, there wasn't enough room to hold it. But we kept the original switch, which was a little tricky. We had to use a micro switch from TCSS, the smallest switch they offer, to get it in there. And it's only momentary, because momentary was the only switch small enough. So it's got a dead man switch on it. You have to hold it down if you want it to stay on, which I actually like, because if you read a lot of the novels and everything, and particularly the EU, as well as the movie novelizations, it does say that a lightsaber would turn off when you took your thumb off the activator unless you slid it into a locking position. So I can't slide this into a locked position, but I like the dead man feature. It's interesting and unique, and I haven't seen a lot of other sabers with it. This is actually here the 2 adjustment knobs for intensity and length, I guess is what they are in universe. This one is actually just a pin that holds the shroud on it. It just retention pin that holds it to the body of the flash gun. And this other one, it looks like the same thing. It looks like it was originally there. It wasn't. We stole that from a Vader conversion kit and just drilled and tapped a hole for the blade retention screw, and it looks great. The guy who did that for us is a friend of ours, did a phenomenal job. It lines up just perfectly. And that actually brings me to a great point on the internals. You can't see it while I have the blade in there. I'll pull the blade out in a minute. But the blade holder is actually made from half of a Vader conversion kit. We dremeled one in half, and that was a chore, and managed to fit it in there above the crystal chamber emitter, and it worked. It was almost a perfect fit. It's actually a little bit loose. It's hard to see here, but there's a little bit of wobble to the blade if you swing it hard enough. But it's not bad. It only wobbles in one direction. Moving on from there, we have the nifty little handguard on here. One of my favorite features about this. That's actually the arm for the reflector that goes on the back of this when it's a camera flash gun. But when I was putting this back together, I had the reflector apart, and just sort of was struck with the inspiration to put this piece back on without the reflector. And at first I tried it like a Dooku-style claw, but it was just long and kind of goofy looking. And then I flipped it over and had a perfect handguard. It definitely wouldn't hold up against a real solid strike in a duel, but this saber is unfortunately just not quite sturdy enough for a duel. It's a great con hilt. I've taken it out at WonderCon and gotten lots of compliments on it. Was very proud to show it off to Ultra. And but it's solid enough that it'll stay on there on its own. As long as you don't hit it with anything, you're fine. You can see here we have the original markings from the Heiland Research Labs that built this thing when it was a camera flash. Pommel's kind of dented up. I rather like that. I'm toying with adding a D-ring to this, but I'm not sure I want to. I like sort of the image and the idea that as a hilt it would be tucked into a belt and hung by the guard rather than hung from a D-ring, kind of a more swashbuckler type deal. But just let me get the blade out here, and I will show you guys what I was talking about with the Vader conversion kit that we used to get this thing put together. I'm gonna have to put the camera down for a second because the blade is a really tight fit. You guys have probably heard about the fact that most conversions you kind of gotta sand your blade down to get it to fit. Well, this has the same problem. So my initiate is actually the only thing that will fit in there without any trouble. And but it does fit, and it looks great that way. There we go. So now you can see a little bit better that it's a little rough on the dremeling, but we did get it done. We did get it there. You can see the LED module down inside and sort of the other holes for how this was supposed to be as a Vader kit. And trust me, the lines do not match up perfectly. It really just happened to work because it's metal and it fits inside of here. But you can see that gap at the bottom of the video here where there shouldn't be a gap. That's where the blade wobble comes from. Is I can kind of stick my thumb in here and move this around a little bit, and you can barely see it, but it does move, especially when it has a blade in it. It will wobble, and that's the one weakness with our conversion. Really is that. But there you have it, and it runs off of 4 AAA batteries, just a standard battery pack that we wired in, and a nice, nifty little thing here. I'll see if I can get the pommel off one-handed to show you, is that the, here we go. We left the battery spring in the battery compartment on this thing in here, and it happens to hold the new battery pack in perfectly, keeps it from bouncing around too much inside the hilt. Everything in this, by the way, was a really tight fit because you only get underneath with where everything is. After the LED, you really only get about 2.5 to 3 inches of space, just literally just this much for, well, actually with the wires coming down about this much, that you can use. That's all the room you have. You could fit sound in one of these, but it would be darn difficult to do it. There would literally be only the exact room, and you'd have to figure out a way to wire up some sort of in-hilt recharge, because you'd never be able to get it all apart and back in again to switch batteries. You do have to use Velcro on it, keep the batteries from coming out, because it's loose. It's not a perfectly tight fit in there, but it only wobbles to the sides. It doesn't really wobble up and down much. But there she is. You guys have now seen Anne, my Heiland conversion. This is one of my favorite sabers. I'm very proud of this because it is also, though it wasn't intended to be originally, it has turned out as a finished product to be the personal saber of my very first original RP character, Sid Manroon, which I have resurrected in the GCW RP section, so feel free to stop in there, create a character, and meet him, per se, and get a chance to check out this saber in, well, written action anyway. And you can also see this saber, sort of, the blade anyway, in the pick in my signature. And it is really one of my favorites. It's great to actually have that very first personal lightsaber for once. I mean, not a lot of people get that one that they dreamed up for a drawing or a fanfic, but I did, and it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend doing a flash conversion. I know Ben Pass has done one, and he loves his, and there's probably a couple others out there of you that have done it, know someone who's done it. And I really encourage you, if you do one, don't just go for the Luke or the Vader copy. Don't go straight for a replica. Replicas are great. Replicas are nice. I love replicas, especially the OT ones. But if you go for something that's not a flash gun that normally gets used, you get two advantages. One, it's going to be personal, it's going to be unique, it's going to be your own, and you're going to get an unbelievable number of compliments on it, because people will see it at shows or on Halloween and they'll know it's a lightsaber right off, but they'll never have seen another one that looks like it. No one else is going to come up with a copy of it. And there's a lot of different flash guns out there. Lots of different ones. They don't all look like this. I just got lucky, picked this one. It was a gift, actually, from a customer of ours, which makes it a little bit more special to me. I like it. This actually came from a customer of ours that owns a movie prop house, and this was used as a movie prop before it became a lightsaber. So that's kind of a fun double history of it. And as a side note, it is meant in character to eventually be paired with Constance, my CE V2 Prophecy in Fire Orange. They make a matched set. These are also the lightsabers that Titus Manroon would have used in the Old Republic RP, though I don't play that character so very much, as many of you may have noticed. But there you have them, and happy sabering, everybody. Welcome back, Lord Wraith. It is great to have my nemesis back on the forums. And take care, guys. I will talk to you later, and hopefully have something to shoot you a new video of soon. Peace.